Hello, everyone. Thank you so much joining us for this town hall meeting for our teaching in fall. Let me just turn off my Outlook because otherwise it will beep a lot. I would like to give, before we start maybe a discussion, I would like to give a few minute background about what myself and my task force we've been doing for this transition to online teaching in our first term. Many of you might have labs and tutorials on lecturing first term, and if you don't, it's not a bad idea to know what might happen for the term 2 as well, which we still don't know whether it's going to be online or not. So it's going to be good to know the practices that your colleagues are starting actually this summer and going to continue for the fall. So as soon as we knew that the fall term is going to be online, we started making a task force looking at the labs because we know that they are going to take longer. So I'm really happy to tell you that we received funding to hire two learning design interns, LDIs, students, as well as two rovers, technology rovers, that they're helping us. These are undergrad rovers, helping us to make videos, and they've gone through training to make platforms for online labs. We also hired TAs based on the instructors' wishes, the TAs that they assign for helping them to develop the online labs for term 1. So I'm really happy to say that all of our TA labs now been hired. We've been waiting for our WorkSafe plan to be approved before we let the TA to go and work with the technician to record the labs or run the experiment or developing any online lab material. So now that our master plan was approved by VPR and UBC Okanagan, on Friday or Thursday, the School of Engineering also approved the TA as well as the technician WorkSafe plan. So now they can go back and start working, of course, considering certain safety regulations. And now they can please start working with your TAs and the technician to make your labs ready. Based on the survey we got from people who are running labs term 1, there are 3 formats of the labs, as I mentioned in our retreat. Some of the labs, they need recording in the physical space of the lab. For example, if there's a fluid mechanic lab, we have the engineering design portables, modules that the TAs will go there. We will have a video shooter or people who are going to shoot the video. They might run the lab, get the results, and then publish it with the faculty member. That's one way of running the lab. There's another format that the software is going to be used. So some of our faculty members decided to use software instead of the physical lab. And for that one, I really appreciate if when we get the survey from the provost office, I will send it to all of you guys. If you can, your lab has a software, let us know what software is going to be used. Provost office is going to work with the IT to make sure for majority of the software, if you require the student have remote access to the lab, the computer labs. So those softwares are installed and they are in the cloud. Sorry, I don't really know the terminology, but then the student and the faculty can access that. So when it comes to the survey, I receive it, I will send it to everybody. Now, that is the second format of the labs. And the third format of the labs are the ones that the students are going to do the experiment in their home. So we are buying stuff and send them either through the link we ask them to buy through the supplier, or we buy them and send them. And there are only a couple of labs like that is going to be. So these are the lab formats. So I'm really glad that now that our WorkSafe plan has been approved, then we can start planning for that. So if you don't know your TA, or you don't remember, or you forgot to tell us who's the TA right now for the lab to help you to develop it, please let us know. Also, I would like to mention that Mehran Shirazi, Dr. Shirazi, is working with the rovers and learning design interns. If you need help, please contact him. He will work with them and assign these helps and resources to you that you can really take benefit and advantage of that. So any question about the labs before I move to our teaching and tutorials? If you have any question, please just shout out, because there are many people in the audience and I don't think I can watch all the hands going up.
You could also add it to the chat, and I'll make sure that I let Mina know in case she doesn't see that come up, but I'll monitor the chat for you.
If there are no, yeah, go ahead, Debbie.
So the learning rovers that I was working with suggested we do an online lab where we have like the TA act, or me act as an avatar, and then the students give us instructions on what to do. And so that's kind of a different format than what you mentioned, and it wasn't included in my original ideas because I just started working with the rovers. So is that going to be something that the school can support? We're just trying to find out what kind of equipment we need in the lab in order to have the video, the audio, both ways, and everything we need.
So thank you, Debbie. I didn't know about that one. Yeah, because I think these rovers, they get ideas from different departments and units on campus. So they have great ideas. I don't want to say no, they're definitely. Can you explain exactly what that means, that you are an avatar and you're running? Sorry, I have no idea what that means, the way that you explain.
So to my understanding of what we talked about is, so the students we will kind of record a pre-lab lecture and or quiz and stuff, and then the technician or myself or the TA will be in the lab, and then they'll say, pick up that test tube, do this, do that, do this, and then we're kind of going to do it wrong on purpose in some cases, because one of the things that we really we didn't want to lose is, if you just video record everybody doing it right, they miss the experience of doing it wrong. And that's one of the big things about being in the lab, is being able to do it wrong and then do it right again. And so we're just trying to brainstorm ways so that they can get that experience. And so that was the idea. I also thought of recording it 3 times, and in 2 of them doing it wrong different ways and having them analyze that. But that's what we're trying to capture, is not just, this is the lab, but this is, and so we're trying to get in that experience that they're losing by not being there. And it may be different for some lab courses where you're just demonstrating a principle, but that's what we're going for.
Thank you so much. I think that's a great idea. Let me now understand. And I think, Debbie, you mentioned a very good point. The entire, what we are trying to do is to make sure the students, as much as we can, not missing the experience that they could get if they could come to the university. Otherwise, what's the added value for them to just be online? So thank you, Debbie. This is a great idea. The only question I have with the method that you just mentioned, and maybe one of the rovers or I think I see Leonard there, is that you have to go to the synchronous schedule of the lab every week. And then for every group, you need to be a person or TA there to tell you what to do. Not all of the groups should say. So that may not work for long or big labs when the student numbers are huge. Maybe it's okay with 2 or 3 group of students, but I'm not sure if in your case you have 2 or 3 students, you have large groups, because then each group will tell you what to do, and you need to have enough TA to run those scenarios.
Yeah, so a little bit of context on where this idea came from. So I was in touch with the learning design intern for chemistry. And what they're doing for the first year labs is, because they believe the first year labs are very critical, because this first year students are not having any experience in the lab. They're recording this live session where the TA has a GoPro in their forehead, and then just record for the whole lab. And instead of having the students to guide them through for bigger lectures, the TA just goes through the experience and asks questions as they pop up in the chat. So they would have 2 TAs for the whole lab, for the whole session, and one's monitoring the chat and the other one is doing the experiment correctly. What we discussed with Deborah was to, since the class is smaller, because it's a 4th year class, would have smaller TA groups of 3 to 4 and 1 TA per team. And then, because she really wants that hands-on experience of the students to guiding through the process, they would be guiding the TA through. So this is just a little bit of perspective what the chemistry is doing on this avatar synchronous lab design for bigger sessions.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. So now I can add 2 other formats to our lab. So one is that ahead of time in summer, we record it. The TA does the whole experiment and just give the results for the student to analyze. The next level is that we don't record the whole thing. Maybe some parts, as you say, they have a video on their forehead. During the schedule of the lab in the term, they go and do it the way that all the students they want. So that's the second format. Another level for a smaller class like Debbie's, maybe you can even have it more TAs working with each group to tell them what to do. And then still we have the software and the kits. Okay, that's interesting, absolutely. You just need to tell us what are the resources, because we have to be able to also provide the number of the TAs that we require. Did I answer your question, Debbie?
Yes, I think, and thanks, Leonardo, because I had actually trying to think of how to apply this to 183 in January if it's needed, and couldn't see, like for 443 it's small and 183, but I do like the GoPro on the TA's head, although I'm not sure that's the best way to do it. But anyway, so that's an interesting, and I do, again, the whole purpose is to make sure that they're not just watching a video, because that's not what a lab is about. They can get videos for most of our first year labs online anyways.
Yeah.
But the idea is to make it so it's interactive. They can ask questions and they can see mistakes. I would encourage all the TAs to kind of make mistakes and make them catch them, but that's just me.
That's a great idea. Again, thank you, because we want to make it as real as possible. And Ray, you have a question? Is that Ray?
Yes. Sorry, Mina. This is regarding APSA 171. I would revamp everything that I need to do, but the only question I have, my kind of course is partial lab, partial tutorial. The nature is the students come to a computer lab, and hopefully they have SolidWorks on the laptop, but if they don't, they use the computer in a computer lab.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure, can we kind of reinforce the students should have a laptop?
Or yeah, I think we cannot, I'm not sure if we can, everybody has laptop, may have some access, but what we need to do is that, Ray, when I send that survey from Michelle Lamberson from Provost, you need to tell us that I need the SolidWorks to be installed in the computer labs and be available in the cloud, so the students remotely should be able to access. For example, if a student can go to library and they have access somehow to a computer and they can log in through CWR or whatever, they should be able to access the computer lab and run the software on the computer lab in the cloud. I don't know if my language is right or wrong.
That's correct. The only issue could be also for some students in China, they might have a problem because they do need to have VPN to access even our system.
Apparently, based on what I've heard, VPN works in China. So if they have the VPN,
well, I mean, it's illegal, but I mean, they have it, you know. But I mean, it's somehow it's a Google. You cannot use Google or Gmail or Dropbox or any of them. But if you have a VPN, yes, them as YouTube. So we expect them to have access. This is their problem.
Yeah, but we try to help them. You know,
absolutely.
If there's a problem, if they need VPN, if we can give them VPN, I think we should do that. Whatever we need to do to make sure they have access to the software.
Okay, and also, anyway, I appreciate if you get the SolidWorks license as soon as possible, then we give them about a month or so to work on it. There are lots of issues sometimes with the Mac, with the PCs. I like to kind of like
maybe
debug it before a school starts.
Yeah, maybe now if this is an urgency, before we wait the whole provost gives us the survey, if all of you guys can send us, not to me, maybe to Taya or to Sam, the name of the software that you need to be installed in our computer lab so student can have access to it, please send it to us so we can ahead of time give it to Provost's office, because I'm not sure when their survey is going to be ready, and that might be a bit too late for some of you guys. Okay. Any other question? Ernest, you have your hands up.
Yes. Hope you can hear me. This is the first time I'm using my Bluetooth. Is it okay?
Yes, we do hear you.
Okay. Right now I'm conducting the Vantage 151 course, and a small handful of students, I think 6, they are unable to get SolidWorks installed on their own laptop. So the arrangement is something called Remote Spark. They will connect to the few computer labs on UBC. Right now they're using ART 215, and then they sort of remote control the UBC PC to run the SolidWorks.
Yeah.
So,
but is it possible from outside Canada they do the same thing? If somebody,
yes.
For example, okay.
Yes. Right now I remember there is one student from Turkey, and he is using that service.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And Dora, I see your hands up.
Yeah. I'm just, one of the things I've been coming up against as I've been kind of looking at integrity in online education and hearing the conversation today about students and VPNs in places like China is whether or not and what we should be doing about students who don't want to do something that is illegal in their country. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know we're in a rock and a hard place, but I'm very hesitant to be advocating for students to be taking actions that might put them in a compromising position. It's something I'm trying to look into as terms of options. I don't have an answer yet, but it does concern me that we're possibly putting some students in actually a dangerous situation by asking them to do this. Mm-hmm. Have we thought about what if students are going to say, no, I just can't do that?
I think in that case, we have to accommodate them. For example, I don't know, shift the mark to something else, or when they come back in winter, we ask them, you know, maybe do that part of the project then, something like that. You're right. We cannot force people to do something illegal if, you know, might compromise them. Laura, now that you're in this role, maybe you can look into SFU. I know SFU last year, they had, or the term 2 that the COVID started, they had the same situation and some student went back home. So in China, they use VPN. Let's say that what are the regulations in other universities regarding the students who in other countries, they need to have access and they may not be legal?
Yes, that is something that I'm looking into right now. I'm just in the beginning stages of it. I don't know how far I'll get to an exact answer, but thank you for the lead to SFU as potential.
Perfect. Any other questions before we move on to the tutorials and lectures?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know how to raise my hand.
That's okay. Yeah, that's okay. Just shout. Yeah, we can hear you, Murad.
Okay, so are we talking about winter 1 or winter 1 and winter 2 in terms of the software we need for the lab?
At this moment, Murad, we're thinking about winter 1, but very hopefully soon, I don't know exactly soon means, we will know the decision about winter 2 as well. So if there is something you need for both terms, put it now. And maybe if you need something for term 2, even put it in the bracket and say term 2. And we will have heads up. We give heads up to the provost office. I don't know yet for term 2.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions about the labs? So remember, we have resources. If you need help from our rovers or the design interns, contact Mehran and he will put you in contact with them. And you know what, this is a great avenue. You can talk to each other. Some of the faculty members like Ernest already done some lab online for the Vantage students. So he's gone through that. And also some of the instructor in the summer like Mehran and other people who have done teaching online for the Vantage students. So now let's roll.
Mina, can I just remind everybody for the video productions, Sam has already tested the equipment that's going to be set up for a workstation, so everybody can use it to record either lectures or videos or labs. So for those of you who has labs in term 1, and I encourage you to get in contact with the rover or the TA. Think about basically the script that you're going to design for the labs. Think about the process of video production, because there's only literally 2 months left. 2 months left. You know, I think time flies, right? So we would like to get on it as early as possible.
Thank you. And there is a question from Debbie, that do we need to have a specification for the equipment? So for the computers, I'm sorry, I think we should, you know, there are some laptops that they cannot run, for example, SolidWorks. So we need to have maybe some specification. If you wanted to run SolidWorks on your laptop, this is a specification. I'm not aware of that, but if you guys know certain specification that you need for your software, please let us know.
Sorry, Mia. We will have 2 stations. So I think, Debbie, for those of you making video productions, I think you probably will need a reservation at a certain stage. So whoever first come, first serves, right?
Yeah, so if I think I'm going to do my videos, because I have to write scripts and get a lot of stuff put together, if I think I'm going to do it mid-July to early August, can I book it for that time now, or?
What's the actually the complexity here is again the university. What's that? What do we call that? Are we opening or not? Right?
Assumption.
Well, I mean, the technicians are allowed to go back to work, and I did a return to research plan, but I didn't do a return to making videos plan. Do I need to do that?
No, Debbie. We have the work safe plan for the TAs for that purpose been approved. But we need only certain number of the people in that particular room. For example, if your room is EME, I'm just making it up,
Say 1207.
Yes, 1207. Then there is an occupancy number. I believe maybe 2 or 3 people can be in that. We have a chart. So at a given time. So even if you can reserve the equipment, you cannot have 10 people in that room. So that's the question.
Yeah, so no, I wasn't going to have 10, but so I need to reserve the equipment and reserve the room to make sure someone else hasn't already reserved the room.
Yeah. So you need to work with the technician, put a ticket, and that would be the best way to go. And for the reserving the equipment, Sam, is there an online form or something that people can reserve?
We don't have one yet. It might be better to do it through the technicians, although I guess this equipment will be for both lectures and for labs. I'll let you guys determine which one gets a priority, if one gets a priority. I'll speak to Alec about maybe just adding that equipment to their forms.
We have a queue reserve site that you could easily set it up, but you make a good point in terms of whether that is, you've set it up for lectures, and for what we're doing in the lab, it might not actually be what we need.
No, it's been set up so that it's very flexible. So this will have multiple cameras, live switching, so it'll still work.
Okay. Now my question about the computers was, yeah, I've had students who say the only way they access Canvas is through their phone. And while we're setting up all these templates and all this information, because now Canvas is our classroom, I keep thinking of this isn't going to work on a phone. And so making sure they have access to a computer is one thing, and making sure they have access to the right computer is a different thing.
Okay, that's a great idea. Yang, can you work with some of our faculty members that they have certain requirement for the computer in year 1 and of course years, and come up with a specification, and we can have a 3-level specification. For example, for accessing to your Canvas and watching videos, whatever, you need this at least RAM, this hard, whatever. And then for making SolidWorks, you need this. For running this software, you something like that people have good understanding what they need, because they don't want to invest a lot of money and then later on they feel, oh, I cannot run SolidWorks on my computer. I can only see Canvas.
Yeah, sure. Just let me know specifically your hardware requirements. Let's see if we can send out an email maybe to our students to say we strongly recommend this is the requirement for computer hardware.
The way I see, the only software packages that they need to run, maybe I'm wrong, and correct me everybody, there is one which is SolidWorks, and the other one is MATLAB, and then there is another one that manufacturing students, and maybe Hassan knows, and now our mechanical engineering manufacturing course are going to use. So these 3, I think, the most consuming part of the computer. The rest, I think normal computer can handle Canvas and watching. They just need a big hard drive if they wanted to save the videos.
And that's the download speed.
Yeah.
But I don't know that that's computer related. That may be their internet, and we can't control any of that.
Oh, and then Ernest said that apparently for Vantage 151, the advisor office sent something about not to buy Mac, because apparently certain things doesn't run on Mac. So we need to put it maybe for this summer, for this fall online, some kind of guideline for a student. If you're trying to buy a computer, this is what you need. Okay. So we only have half an hour. I'd like to get to our lecture and tutorial. So thanks for those who filled the survey for the lecture and TAs. We had 29 faculty fill the survey, and there were questions about, and again, I like to use this platform to discuss more. Maybe there are other ideas to run your lecture, but the way that we came up in that survey is that it's like a flipped classroom, or is going to be live. And I've explained what the flipped classroom means. Flipped classroom means that you record part of your lecture or your lecture ahead of time, and then the student watch it, and then you come to your scheduled synchronous time, because all of our courses, they have the synchronous time, and you meet with the student, for example, go over the lecture, or leave one of the example to do it through the Collaborate Ultra or Zoom during your synchronous time, chat with the students, do whatever you want activity during that. So that's a flipped classroom. The other one is that, no, you're not sending any video ahead of time. You just go similar to the class during your scheduled time and teach the students. What I would like, because some of our students are not in our time zone, and this is the concern we receive from the NSA, is that whether you're making video flipped classroom or you're doing the live, I want you press your record button during the time that you are in your synchronous time through the Collaborate Ultra or Zoom. This way you can, record your voice and your activities when you are in the room, and then post it on Canvas as well for the students who are not there. They feel that they may miss something even if the classroom is flipped, and there's some discussion in the class that they are not, hearing because they are away from the class, and this is not fair to them. So this is what I wanted to talk about. I'd like to hear from you if you're thinking about any other way of delivering your class. As well, I mentioned from the beginning that we need to make sure that the students' experience is not affected. They feel that they are there. So that's why I don't want anybody to just, make the video and then say bye, you go watch and then come for the exam. I really want faculty members to have interaction. So I see, Kasun, your hand is up. Go ahead.
Yes, Meena. Now, since the students are in different time zones, like in classes like ENGR 303, we have lots of in-class activities, and students are partially given marks for those activities as well. So I'm still not sure how to handle that situation, because if they are not doing the in-class work within groups with me, then I don't know how to grade them for those quizzes type of situations.
Mm-hmm. So I really have a recommendation, Kasun. If you can just for this year change your group activities as a not mark base, encourage a student to do it, but don't give them mark, then this way they won't be compromised. I mean, this is the problem, that we know some of the students won't be able to access the class at the time that you're running it.
Okay, okay, sure, thank you.
I just want to emphasize a feedback from international student representative at the Engineering Society. Two major concerns. Number one is access to the lecture videos for those in a different time zone. Number two, attendance requirements in some courses, if just like Kasun you suggested, if they couldn't make it, right, would they be penalized? So my reply to them sort of on the line is, I will ask all of our instructor to either way to provide recorded lectures, and for attendance, we will see if there's any alternatives, but otherwise, I don't think they should be penalized.
Can I add one thing? So in terms of the group work, I was at a session from CTLT where you can have asynchronous group work, and instead of giving them attendance grades, you can give them participation grades. And they use various like Google Docs and or various things to track who's doing what, but it was what's the word for you can't see who it is, anonymous. But so I don't know if that could tie in, but there are ways that you can actually get them to do the work and give them participation, give them small groups, and you can make a room in Canvas that only they have access to. And I don't know if that will work for you.
Any other questions?
Yes, no, sorry.
Go ahead. Is it Ray?
Yes, yes. Sorry, I guess we communicated about this. I just want to be a little more publicly communicate. Could be this a kind of option in a discretion of instructor, that if he or she wants to add another section to his or her lecture, So, I mean, if I want to teach, for example, 5 o'clock morning to Chinese students, which is around like, noon time there, is it possible? Absolutely, without any extra credit. And this is completely with the agreement of the students and the instructor. Is
So
it?
what makes it complicated is that it's not that it's the fault of the instructor or is that the talking to the student doing that. Those students that may say yes, they may have other courses at that time. So we don't want to create another layer, because if you run it and another faculty runs it, another faculty runs it, it may overlap with other classes. So I prefer to not do that. So you can have office hours. This is what I really want to talk about right now. You guys can have office hours and make your office hours again through Zoom or Clap Ultra and record them, but not as a regular lecture outside what is being synchronous scheduled, as a lecture.
But I'm just saying that, for example, if I come and nobody comes, so that's okay. But if I'm in the room, it's almost like an extra tutorial and students are coming and, kind of, it doesn't matter how many. So it's not going to harm students if this, I don't ask them to come. So I'm going to be here, I'm going to repeat this lecture. And if 100 people comes, it means that it's effective.
No, the problem is that also create expectation that maybe some other instructor cannot do it.
It's optional. We shouldn't force it.
I know, but then
so Meena, can I say?
Go ahead, Rehan.
Yeah, thank you. I think I appreciate Ray's your that you are kind of volunteering to do this kind of stuff. What I really suggest, just to build on what Meena already said, issue is this year is a extremely complicated scheduling issue. You might have already been hearing about it, and we are in a very unfortunate situation. We don't want to create more confusions. You just imagine a student sitting out there. Communication has already been a huge challenge for us. My request to you is increase your, let's say you are ready to do extra service to our students. My suggestion would be add your number of office hours.
Yeah,
and within your office hours, you can do whatever you feel like. You want to help somebody, you want to go back to your slides, but don't make it a formal lecture. Don't say to those students, I'm going to repeat my lecture again this time.
No.
Then it's an inequity issue will come. Students will start complaining. Then either your good act will turn into something very negative. So you have to just see from that perspective.
Absolutely.
So you can increase your office hours, as far as, this is between you and your students. Students are happy. I and Meena or any administrator have no issue. But when we start getting complaints, then we have a problem.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other questions about lectures? Do you have any suggestion? Go ahead. Mohammed, your hand is up. Mohammed Zarif.
Thank you, Meena. I just have a concern and a question. So the first concern is for the last 2 years, I'm teaching system dynamics with 100, 200 people in the class. So this year I noticed that only 3 people has registered for out of 190 people. So, and at the same time, I heard some rumors that some people, some students prefer not to attend classes or register for these classes because currently there are only 3 people.
Yeah,
and then the question is, if the class is big, like 190 people, and some mics are on or people are talking to each other, some background noise, what kind of precautions we need to take against these kind of problems?
About the first concern, I don't think that will be concern. I'm sure that people, I'm not sure how many 190 will be your class or not, but they will register. So that's not that people think that they cannot register. No. And that through our lectures, they need to be a student to attend it. So I'm not concerned about that. Regarding the second point that I think we need to discuss, and this is what I like to use this forum for that. I think if you have a big class, and that's why in the survey was certain number of students, more than a certain number of students, I think you need to have TAs in the classroom helping you to manage the questions, to tell everybody mute your mic or raise your hand, moderate the whole session. How many TAs we would like to, we can come up with a number, but I think that depends on the course. If your course is just a lecture type of the course, you may only need one TA to moderate it. But if there's a course, and Ray, I'm sorry, I'm bringing you again, but there's a course and lots of activities in terms of giving solid work, you might need more than one, also similar to 303 customs course. So depending on that, we're willing for large classes to provide TA support in class.
Thank you.
Debbie, your hand is up.
So at the end of last term, when we switched online, John and I were both teaching sections of 183, but we ended up doing it was we merged them. So I taught both sections on Monday at the Monday time and recorded it. And then at the Wednesday time, we invited both sections and recorded that. Just because it didn't make sense, we both had exactly the same lecture sets. Everything was going to be the same except the voice delivering it. And since we were both going to save recordings online, it didn't make sense to have basically the same recording twice, although John might have better jokes than me. But can we, this term, so when two people are assigned one class, could we merge them so that the students know, and then one person deliver half the class and the other deliver half, or do we need to keep them separated as two separate sections?
Unfortunately, since the scheduling cannot be changed, the students are registered in their course sections. But in terms of if you're doing flipped classroom, you can make the video, for example, you and I teaching 182, for example. I can make this week video and then go to my class and talk about it. Next week, you can make that video and then we put your video up there and I will go to my class with your video and talk about it. So at least you can save your effort from that perspective, but unfortunately, we cannot merge the classes.
Well, it sounds like they're going to have to change the scheduling anyways.
Let's see.
Because of it's totally messed up. Is there any way to include this when they actually fix it?
They told us that do not change any other new things. If we do change any other new things based on what we provided in February, then every class after that will be in a bad timing. And I don't want to create bad timing. Of course, what is a bad time? Nobody knows at this moment because there are some of the students outside our time zone. But anyway, I don't think we can change it, Debbie, at this moment. But you can make one video. I mean, you don't have to both make the same video twice. That you can use your efforts and save time there. But still, I want you to go to your class and talk over their lecture or example. I want the student in your class to hear your voice at some point. If it's not on the video, that's okay. But I like they see you and hear your voice during the synchronous time schedule. Any other questions? Raise your hand if you have any questions or just shout.
This is Jahangir. I have a very quick question about this recording video, then uploading and showing up during the class, which is a great idea. But I am asking myself, is there any issue with the amount of contact hours? Like let's say I have a 1.5 hour video, right? I upload and I ask them to watch them. Again, I basically go over them during my, not all of them, but partially during my lecture and spending 1.5 hours. So you see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, great point. Very great point. So I talked to the CTL and they brought the same problem about the flipped classroom. They say if all of our classes are flipped classroom type, then the students are spending twice what they used to do. So that's what they suggested. Make your videos very small, 10 minutes video. So your whole lecture shouldn't be that. So they get an overview of that, even if you're doing flipped classroom, 10 minutes that they can watch it and come. So calculate if the student used to spend this much time in my class before, adding 10 minutes, somewhere else you have to reduce the 10 minutes or 15 minutes, so something like that. Otherwise, if all of us add 15 minutes to all of our lecture, the students will be overwhelmed. That's a very good question and very good concern. And that's why the CTL mentioned that don't make your flipped classroom videos very long. Only 10 minutes to give an idea of what the class is going to be. But majority of your lecture is going to be during the synchronous time when you're meeting with them in the collaborative Ultra or Zoom.
Okay, Mina, this is Sumi. I have a question regarding just following up with this one. So if we have 10 minutes video posted before, and then in the class time, do we reduce our class time 10 minutes accordingly, or No.
You can, or that's up to you. Yes, that's up to
Okay.
you. You can do that, or you just stay behind. This is your classroom. Even during when we were going in person, you could dismiss your class 20 minutes earlier. This is up to you.
Yeah.
How to manage, not go over what they are. This is what I wanted to make sure. And remember, they are learning as we go. So at the beginning of the term will be a lot of learning curve up for them. So just be patient with them. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I had one. I don't know if this is the best time to ask it. So we have a Canvas template that has been kind of shown to all first-year teachers. And I'm not sure whether the people in second, third, and fourth year don't also deserve to be able to have a little bit of training and use this new template, because I think it really helps to organize the classes. I'm not saying force them to use it. I'm saying give them the same training and stuff that first year people are getting. So then the students they see a common look when they walk into the classroom on Canvas. I just thought it was weird that only first year people were given the training.
Yeah, great question. So let me tell you why I made that call for different reasons. But the main reason is that the uniform Canvas template idea came from our bridge program that is going to happen in summer for the incoming students. So incoming students from high school, hopefully they all attend this bridge program, and they learn about online way of teaching and learning. So for the first time they see Canvas, and that's why when they come to the first year in the following month, which is September, I like all of our faculty members in the first year to use the same template. Now, for the second year and third year and fourth year student, they've seen Canvas before. So I thought that, it's good to have a template, but maybe if we can save just a small session for the first year because they've never seen it before, that would be something. If somebody is interested in the second year and third year to have uniform Canvas templates similar to the first year, please let me know. Then we go through the training for all of our faculty. But at this moment, I thought that since our second year and third year and fourth year, they've seen already Canvas in different formats. So for them, it's not that much crucial to get this form, uniform.
But many of our people teaching second, third, and fourth year have never really used Canvas up to its potential.
No, not the faculty. The students have seen Canvas. The third year.
The faculty still are not using it up to its full potential. And this template really helps them do that without putting as much work into it. Or they have to put a little bit more than they've already been doing. But I've heard from several students that many of our faculty don't use Canvas the same way, and so it's confusing to them. And I think it would just help overall.
Did Ayman run who ran the workshop, the training?
Ayman.
Yeah, it was Ayman and a couple of other people. Yeah.
So I can ask Ayman to run it, volunteer for other people if they're interested. Maybe a session, whoever wants to, take advantage of that. Absolutely. Okay, any other question about the lecture? So for the TA, what we're trying to do, because we only have 15 minutes to go, for the tutorials, now that's another question. So we need to see what is the point of tutorial. So for us, we had to have tutorial because of the CAB visit, and they count it as a half contact hours. So that's why always for majority, and I say majority because there is one course at least they're doing online even before COVID. For majority of our courses, we always had TAs going to the class, and majority of our TAs, they're solving the question on board, and the students, they either participate or they don't. So there's not been very popular method. So that's why I wanted to use this COVID year for a way to look at our tutorial in a more effective way and trying to change it. Of course, the TA, similar to the lecture, they can make ahead of time tutorial material video, and then go to the tutorial session as a session to answer questions. Not like a teaching platform that we do, somebody solve the question and the rest of the people, but as discussion more. So that will be similar to the supplemental learning type of thing. And I already started experimenting for 2 courses in term 1 merging our tutorial with the supplemental learning. So the graduate TAs will work with the undergraduate TAs as the supplemental leaders to run the tutorial similar way that the supplemental learnings usually are doing, because they're very successful. But I don't want to do it for all of our courses. I'm just piloting 2 of our courses in the first year in term 1. But I like you think about your tutorial, and now that everything is online, see that how you can make it more effective, because the method we were running is not effective. So now that people can record and go to the class, answer the question, see that what you can do. And I like to use this forum to see that what are the ideas you're thinking about your tutorials. Anybody wants to?
So Mina, last term, I did similar to what you said, although in 183, we gave the students the assignments. They were supposed to come to the tutorials and ask questions about those assignments, and then the TA would work through that. And if they ran out, they would give them some extra work, have the students do it. In March, we, again, when we switched, I had to do the tutorials at first because the TA didn't actually have a way of writing problems online. And so I actually had more students show up to the tutorial than I did to the lecture, the synchronous lecture. So I think it's a valuable tool, but the TAs need to have a way to write. Like I was using my iPad, and so that we would need to, if we're going to have them do that, and somebody, I can't remember, in one of the forums we were at, Fora, they had a really cheap thing you can write on and plug it into your computer. And so that's the thing, the school will have to buy some things like a whiteboard that students can write on, because writing with your mouse on the Canvas whiteboard is, especially when you're doing equations and formulas, it's really hard.
So maybe I looked at that. I'm not sure if the one that you're saying is the same. It's a $500.
No, this one was really cheap. All it was a Surface, and who was it? One of our professors had it. I can't remember. Ernest, was it you?
Yeah, it was me, but I think this is very obsolete technology. I'm not even sure whether it's available now.
Can I make a suggestion?
Could I add? Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. One of the things that Ray and I talked about in our switch to our workshop back in March when we switched to online was like a lower tech version of that would be setting up your camera so it's overhead and just doing this on paper with a regular video instead of having it be directly on a screen. So essentially all you need to do, and Ray had set up, I believe, rigs that people could borrow to do these kinds of videos where, you know, they could be actually live streaming with their camera overhead and writing.
To add one more thing, thank you, Laura, for the comment. Yes, that thing is available. I think Ahmed gave it to Murad or Mahmoud maybe. I'm also in the process of building something called Lightboard. And this is the newest technology, is about 2 years or 3 years old. And we are writing a proposal to Provost Office for $20,000 to make many of them. So the Lightboard simply is a transparent whiteboard. But what I'm trying to do is combine this with somehow you can project your PowerPoint or Prezi as well. So I have some good news hopefully coming soon. If we can get that things running, the problem with the writing on whiteboard or even on your surface is you're missing this human contact, eye-to-eye contact. But Lightboard is almost you are writing on the air. The person can see your facial expression, and at the same time you can play with PowerPoint on your background, which is projecting. It is a little technological. I mean, there are some tweaks has to be done, but hopefully we can get that one up and running within next week, and hopefully we
for every single TA to have in their house.
There would be about there would be about 10 of them in library, and maybe we can build few of them ourselves. It's going to be inexpensive. Some people, they can even do it themselves, but the idea is that there are 3 sizes. Extra large are 75 by 35 inches, medium size 48 by 32, and a small one, which is a desktop. The desktop, we can sign it out. Again, we are waiting for Provost Office to give us funding.
Alexander put the Wacom one, which is the one I think I was remembering, a link in the chat.
And he told me that it's $500. I mean, buying for, that's expensive for the school to put so many of them.
Yeah, that's too expensive. We need something that's really inexpensive and that every TA could have, and especially if they're not allowed to come back to work, they need to be able to have it at home. I think my TA still got my stuff, but and so the pen too.
Can I jump in here?
Yes, please go ahead.
My lab has a smart whiteboard. Ray, would that help in any of this?
It does actually, but the thing is that the problem with the whiteboard itself is when you are using the whiteboard, you are missing that the way that you talk to me. Because if I cover this one, things are going to be different. And the whiteboard, same as when we go to the class. So I write in a whiteboard, I come back and turn my face to class. I have this animated figure. So that is adding engagement. But even you have a camera somewhere, a small face of yourself in a corner, it still is not like a light board. I strongly encourage you to look at Lightboard. The real Lightboard costs about $25,000. One, it's amazing. But of course, we don't have that much money. The one I'm proposing a little bit different, but it has some also advantages. The real Lightboard is almost like a weatherman. So you are writing something and then you don't even see, there's a screen in your background, and then everything is flipped.
Okay, because Sam's putting together two cameras, right? So
Yeah.
one could be at our face at all times and one could be at the board. Plus we've got our PowerPoint and it's all going to be integrated with our TA helping us. So
that's definitely something very useful. But again, we have two of them. And we are thinking about making 10, 15 of those things that then it's a little bit easier to use that. It's just like a plug and play.
If you're using your device with Canvas, you can have your picture showing, your camera can be turned on, and you share your screen. And I think they see you as a little teeny icon, and then your screen is bigger.
Yeah, again, that perfectly is working, but I mean, it's a little different anyway. So
I just have one question on the 10-minute pre-lecture video that are going to be posted before every lecture. Sam, I don't know if you're on the, yeah, you are. Is it now set up, because I'm going to do it in Canvas, where all pre-record and that'll be recorded somewhere other than my laptop, right? That'll go right directly onto the Canvas?
Yeah, my understanding is that you could record into a server called Kaltura, and you could record all of any lectures you want, and that holds it sort of like a YouTube, but it's within the envelope of Canvas.
Perfect, perfect, thanks.
Yeah, Kaltura, we double checked with Peter Newberry. He said if you use Kaltura on Canvas, which is like a rainbow, whatever color, it will automatically save it on Canvas. Yeah. Okay. Ernest, your hand is up.
Okay, yes, Ernest here, and my experience over the past few weeks with my AppSci 1 AT for the Vantage College students, I tell my TAs to pre-record the solutions to tutorial problems, and then they hold office hours. In fact, I asked them to hold 2 time slots so that it caters to people from different time zones. But in a recent meeting, they said that most of the time, no one attends those office hours. One of them, he said, only during one of the office hours, one student came. So it seems that they are already finding the answers to the problems by watching the videos. So I have a suggestion.
Go ahead.
Make use of the TA's time to track students who are falling behind. Like this term, I have one student who's totally lost, doesn't respond to emails and so on. So I guess with very relatively younger students with a lower level of maturity just coming from high school, you may need to ask the TA to spend their time tracking them, who is not following the lecture activities, who is not submitting tutorials, and so on, and keep them connected.
Yeah, that is very important. That's why I wanted to have this discussion, because we don't want to, this is a school resource. we don't want to waste it. And if we can use the TA in a much better way, if we can just record our tutorials and everybody watch it, and only TA for tracking or having office hour anytime, one of the TAs, and the other TAs, they could track the students or help you in the class, I prefer that. Otherwise, for a TA to go to the scheduled time, sitting there waiting, nobody comes, and we already pay them, this is waste of school money. And we can use the TAs in a much better way.
But Mina, if you don't post the solutions, then they have to go to the tutorial to ask the questions. And if the TAs don't give them the solutions, the students have to ask the questions, then that makes the tutorial a little bit more meaningful. But yeah, if we give them the solutions, there's no reason to go to the tutorial.
So for example, in my case, I always give them the solution. So then they never show up to any tutorial. So we need to think a little bit here, and you know, coming to tutorial is more than just because we want them to come. They learn also. If they come and they have question, one question can lead to another question, and then all of the things that they're falling behind in lecture can be solved. So that's what I'm trying to say. Try to find a very genius way to bring these people to the tutorial session if we are paying the TA to run it. If you don't need your TAs, let us know, then we can use the TA in much better way.
Yeah, you have to force them to ask the questions. So if you just give them the answer, they won't think about it.
Yeah.
One way, Debbie, it's helped to get more engagement during tutorial is forming groups. Even though the course is not revolving around a group project, but just forming the groups and say, you guys work together. And then here, you are a captain this week, and next week you are captain, and captain get this many points, and you know, just make it in a way that they feel that their presence in tutorial is helpful for them. They will come.
Can I jump in here, Ray? I like that idea, but you have to let them self-form the groups. But can you also, Mina, this goes back to you probably, can we also give them a participation mark based on whether or not they've got into group and are actively participating?
Yeah, professionalism. Always give them professionalism. Maybe a little extra mark, like 5%.
Yeah, but I think getting the groups is a key.
As long as they can connect during the time, there's no problem with their connection, and we are not, you know, I don't know, penalizing them for because they're somewhere that they cannot connect. Yes, sure.
Well, they are not, tutorials are not mandatory anyway.
Yeah.
So, you know, but somehow, again, if you give them a little extra mark, as Gord mentioned, somehow it's for them, it's like a cookies, they come. And when they come and learn that, yeah, this is helpful, then they would keep coming.
Yeah. And you go ahead.
Sorry, one thing is the key, I noticed that always, the first couple of tutorials are very important. If you lose them first or second tutorial because we are not organized or things are not good, they're gone. So we have to really nail it first tutorial, and that's how they get hooked to it.
Yeah, I strongly agree. I should have done that. I regretted not doing that for my course.
Ayman and then Thomas.
Okay, I would like to know now what is the mandate for the TAs. Previously, my TAs, for example, they are limited and focus only on the solution of the assignment I give them. But now, can the student, for example, ask a general question related to the topic, which is not part of the problem set?
Sorry, Ayman, I didn't hear you. Did you ask a question? Sorry.
Yes. Okay. So previously, my experience was my TAs, they only focus on, I prepare the solution, everything for them, and they just go to the class 50 minutes to solve 1 or 2 problems. Many of them, they didn't care to learn more about the course. So if the student asks anything related to the course, but outside the problem set, they hardly can answer. So my question now, with this COVID and many TAs now will have lots of time to learn really what we are teaching. Can we shift a little bit tutorial time to be like an office hour for them, for the student to ask a little bit question outside only the assignment problem?
Sure, you know, absolutely. I mean, as what I say, we're paying TAs, and the worst thing I wanted to see is that they go and nobody shows up. If they come and the students come and ask question about whatever, doesn't matter, and they learn something, means that our money was paid well. So you can see that what is the best way for using the TA, because, you know, this is the school money again. We're all sharing that. If that's the way to use the best way, please go ahead. You know, tutorial, the mandate is for extra help to student to learn.
Is there any way we could make an online booking system where the students could book the TA's time, where the TA puts up mutually acceptable hours, or I don't know, office hour, or just some online booking so students that need help can actually book an appointment time? Because then the TAs know whether they've got to show up, because if nobody's booked it, I mean, I just don't know. Maybe there's a middle ground here.
So this is similar to the SL, semi-SL model, supplemental learning model. And I think that's why it's very successful, because the student, they go there when they need help. Of course, there are certain sessions, it's not any time they book, and they can go there and work with the leader. So that's why it's different than our tutorial. And if, as Ayman said, we make our tutorial that way as a help rather than teaching style, maybe that is the student know that every week, Tuesday at 2 p.m., I have this person that I can go and ask questions. Thomas, your hand is up, and then Payman and Debbie.
Yeah, thanks, Mina. I agree with you about your concern with the tutorial and good usage of the time. And I think something that we don't know yet, I mean, this is going to be really an experiment for all of us, is, you know, if you're on your computer, the students are going to be, you know, we're going to demand them to be in their classes, and then they've got tutorials and labs online, you know, just the fatigue of being just, you know, looking at their computers all the time. So I think there's a lot to just self-learning, and they do work together offline and, you know, solve problems. So, you know, with office hours and lectures, I think that might be enough for many of them.
Yeah, and I totally agree. I'm not sure how many of you guys notice these days that I'm doing everything through computer or Zoom, and there's no other thing. My side is really bad. And imagine a student who is doing so many of these for different classes. I totally agree, Thomas. If we can help them in a way that they learn and is enough for them, that's what, yeah, use it as office hour. Payman?
In my experience in first summer term, I had 3 TAs for 2 courses, so I assigned different tasks for each of them. One of the TAs was helping me to generate different values, to generate different questions, and I defined them as tutorial quiz. So it was containing 5% of their final grade. In each tutorial, the TA was explaining the questions, and each students, they had different values of information. The tutorials were recording, so they had 24 hours to watch TAs or attend the online class, and they had 24 hours to submit their answer because of that 5%. And what I saw, more than 80% of students were attending the tutorials. Among 100, I had 100 students in 248 and 80 students in 181.
Oh, okay. So that way is good. Yeah. Thanks, Payman. Debbie, and I think we are running over. I have to go to interview, but Debbie, do you have a question? So the last question, Debbie, you can ask.
I just had one point that, so when we asked our TAs to give them extra problems in 183, they were hesitant to think of any themselves. So we had to supply a second set. And if you think of your TAs, for instance, 183 is chemistry, very, very few. We don't have chemical engineering. So very, very few of our students come in with a lot of expertise, and that may happen in a bunch of different classes. So I don't think we can rely on students to ad lib a lot because they don't want to. And many of them did read up to catch up, but so we gave them extra problems the students had not seen to use as other examples when they ran out of stuff to talk about. And Gord, there is a meeting scheduler on Canvas. I've never used it, but there is a way for students to schedule an appointment with any other person on Canvas in Canvas.
Awesome. Awesome. So is part of your workshop, I hope you teach us how to use that, or somebody that, or maybe it's trivial and I can learn it myself, and I'll share it with the rest of you.
So thank you all. Sorry, it was amazing platform. I think we should have it another one in a month, that by then most of us or most of you guys already prepare your material and can share your experience. I wanted to stress again, we have rovers and LDIs. Soreen is also online and learner. So please work with Mehran to connect with them. They have lots of experience from other faculty that they can share with you. And Sam, I have a question. Is there any way that we can put a website that people, if they have any questions or they have found a great resource or a way to do something, they can put their comment there and other people can have access to it?
We don't really have that. We do. They can email me, and we do have underneath the faculty and staff link on the submenu of our website. There are online teaching resources where we've been trying to update. As an example, some of the stuff from CTL, also the workshop that Laura and Ray provided. All of those recordings are up there. Loic and Ernest had some training up there as well for faculty.
So if you have any comments, please send it to Sam so we can put it up there. Other people can benefit from it as well.
The CTLT training workshops have all been really good.
Oh, good, great. Please attend. So thank you all. Have a great day. And if I don't see you, have a nice long weekend, not long weekend. It's a Wednesday holiday. Happy 1st of July. Yeah. Take care.